Welcome back. The deployment utilities are used to deploy and undeploy the xDM server and also to stop, start and restart the server. In addition, there is a special maintenance mode that can be achieved by using one other deployment utility. In the first section of this training, I will present a deployment done by root. This is the recommended flow. The second section of the video will demo the non-root deployment flow on Linux. Server deploy is the tool to deploy the xDM server. As shown earlier, you have the option to customize the configuration before starting the deployment. Now that the pending configuration is ready, you can start the deployment of the xDM server. During the deployment process, the server deploy utility uses the pending configuration in order to set up the components that establish the xDM server. Components such as the web application server and potentially the embedded database. It will also set the connection to the database as well as all other resources exactly as defined in the pending configuration. Server deploy also installs the MGC MDS monitoring and diagnostic daemon, which controls and monitors all processes that are part of the xDM server. The MGC MDS daemon launches those processes and makes sure that if any of them fails to launch, MGC MDS will immediately relaunch it appropriately. Although MGC MDS installed as root also run as root, the derived processes that it will launch are recommended to run with a different user, for example MGC server user. Let's watch it in action. You can see that in the first step, before starting with the actual deployment, many diagnostic checks are performed. These diagnostics verify that all conditions are ready and that all provided configuration is valid before it enables the deployment to begin. Upon successful deployment, you will receive a summary of all the URLs that you can provide to the clients in order to communicate with the xDM server. xDM server has a special maintenance mode which prevents client access to the server while enabling global admin to access and manage the xDM server. This maintenance mode was mainly created to support use cases that require maintenance operations on the server, such as fixing a broken LDAP server connection and executing backup and restore operations. To switch xDM server to maintenance mode, run server maintenance mode -on. Providing -off will turn off the maintenance mode. How do I update the xDM server? Well, there are two main types of update: a configuration update and a software update. For both, you should use the server update utility. There are two main differences between a root flow and a non-root flow. The first one is trivial. Non-root deployment flow does not require root permission to be given to the user who runs the deployment and therefore does not inherit root privileges for the xDM server. This reduces a potential security risk. For many customers, this is an IT administration requirement. The second difference is that non-root deployment is not fully automated, so you should take into account that there are some manual steps that need to be taken. This is a slower deployment process and may introduce error because of the human factor. After deciding to deploy the server with non-root, you should continue managing the server and running other utilities with the same non-root user that you selected for the deployment. Otherwise, inconsistency of the settings and misleading diagnostics information may harm the environment. A non-root deployment flow has prerequisites that you must do manually. You should have the monitoring and diagnostics MGC MDS daemon running with the non-root user of your choice. Currently, non-root deployment is only supported on Linux. As for the input XML file, you should set the server user, run server as MGC MDS user to true, so that all the derived processes run with the same non-root user that you just defined for the MGC MDS daemon to run with. I'm opening a terminal with the non-root user MGC server user. I navigate to the /sut scripts directory. And now I should be able to start the MGC MDS daemon. Now that you have the prerequisites established, you are ready to start the deployment of the xDM server. To do that, run server deploy -non-root. You will have to use -non-root argument for undeploying the server if you also deploy the server as non-root. Please remember to run a backup before undeploying the server. In this video, we demo the deployment of the xDM server. We discussed root versus non-root deployment flow. We emphasized the important role of the MGC MDS daemon, the special maintenance mode of the server, and also the server update and the server undeploy utilities.